always a pleasure and honor to have this guy on the show and spend some time talking with him. You all know him and love him as the guitarist and vocalist in one of the most iconic bands of all time, ZZ Top. Joining me now live is Billy F. Gibbons. Billy, how are you, buddy?
Man, E.T. I've always we're doing. If we felt any better, we'd be twins. So good to hear you, boys.
You too. It's good to see you. Last month, you and I were part of a private event in Austin. It was a hot one, but we had a good time out there with Sammy Hagar and the guys.
It was so fun. Yes, you're right. It's been quite on the blistering side this summer. It's I don't know. We like to keep things hot, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. So you've been out there for a little bit with ZZ Top, and I know you've got more dates coming up through August and into September. How have the dates been going? How have the shows been for you so far?
Really cool. I say that when it's been outdoors and in the heat, we try and bring a little bit of that ZZ Top cool with us, and it's always about the party, and that's the way it's been going. We're gonna. I think you're right. We march right on through September with some very interesting dates coming up. Starting back in Texas with Jeff Beck joining us.
I saw that listed, and I said, my gosh, what an evening of guitar playing is that going to be between you and Jeff Beck on the same stage in the same night. Billy, what's your history with Jeff? I mean, Jeff is obviously a very different style, I think, guitar player than you are, but both of you guys are rightfully considered a couple of the all-time greats. Do you have a lot of history working with him?
Oh, yeah. This goes back to, believe it or not, pre-ZZ Top. I was fronting our little outfit called the Moving Sidewalks, and we had just wrapped up a tour with Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix Experience hired us to hit the road with them, and no sooner had we decided to catch our breath, we were joined up with another further interesting road show, which included the Yardbirds, and it was right at the transition when Jeff was starting with the Jeff Beck group, featuring Rod Stewart, of course, on vocals and Ronnie Wood on bass. It was such a great lineup. So Jeff and I have had quite a bit of history since the late '60s.
So I was going to ask you, so at the time Jeff Beck was in the Yardbirds, it wasn't the Jimmy Page lineup.
Correct. It was Eric Clapton had come and gone, Jimmy Page, and although if you recall the famous film Blow Up, which featured a scene showcasing the Yardbirds doing their great version of Train Kept a Rollin'. Mm-hmm. And the lineup included both Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page on the same stage. It was really fantastic.
Well, and have you toured much recently with Jeff? Has ZZ Top and Jeff gone out, and have you done stuff a lot over the decades, or is this really something that's been a while in the making?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I was able to speak with Jeff just yesterday. They've wrapped up their run through Europe. They had quite a successful tour across Europe, and we had a few laughs of designing a couple of new numbers that we can add to the show, which would allow Jeff to join the ZZ Top stage. That ought to make for some real fireworks. I'm looking forward to that.
I was going to ask you about that, because that would be the no-brainer if Jeff walked out with ZZ Top, and for at least a few songs you were no longer a trio and you had Jeff Beck. You and Jeff out there together, man, that'll be unbelievable to see. So you guys sounds like you're working that up already, huh?
Oh yeah, Fast and Furious. One of the songs that we've come to enjoy playing together, and this goes back recently. Before the curtain dropped, ZZ Top and Jeff Beck had teamed up, and we did a string of dates together. And one of the songs that unfolded came from a rather unexpected presentation that showed up on YouTube. And I had called Jeff, and I said, Jeff, I don't remember playing the old country song by Tennessee Ernie Ford. And he goes, well, yeah, which one was that? And I said, oh, it's a famous song. It's quite old. 16 tons. He said, 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt? I said, yeah. And he said, I don't think we played that. And I said, well, it's on YouTube. And sure enough, he called back and he said, well, somebody's been rather clever in putting together some video footage and kind of making this up. I said, but I kind of like the way it goes. And from that, we learned it, and we'll be keeping that tucked in our back pocket. Get ready for a version of 16 tons.
Wow. Now now the shows, I also know that you've got Ann Wilson of Heart, who's still a powerhouse singer, also on this bill. But just for clarity, Billy, are the shows with Jeff Beck, I see some on your website listed in Texas. Is it just the Texas dates, or the whole remainder of the tour is going to have Jeff on it?
Well, the popularity of the 3 Texas states that were advertised sold out in minutes. And it prompted some promoters to get rather industrious. We've added, there's a show outside of Nashville now, followed with another couple of shows down south. Things are picking up steam, and we all couldn't be happier. Jeff's delighted, and our camp is quite excited. It's going to be quite a blast. As I said, the fireworks will fire.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'd love to see one of those. Everybody can find all the ZZ Top dates at zztop.com. Billy, you also have a very cool record out with ZZ Top right now called Raw, and it's very appropriately titled. And I was listening to some of it earlier, and I love what this is, and I know it originated from the fantastic documentary on the band, which came out a couple of years ago. Tell the audience, if you will, about the origins of Raw and recording it, and where you did it and how you did it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's appropriately titled Raw. We had received a phone call from our director, who was unfolding and peeling the onion, working on this documentary, That Little Old Band from Texas. And he said, if you don't mind, I wouldn't be too upset if you guys would consider posing in a setting that would kind of reflect the way you guys started off way in the early days. And I said, oh, gee, I said, you may be in luck. We've got a break. You got anything in mind? He said, yes. He said, there's an age-old honky-tonk outside of San Antonio. And I said, you must be talking about Green Hall. He said, yep. And I said, oh, we've been there many times. And we all got set. We thought, gee whiz, we'll show up at Green Hall, stand in front of the building, let him take a few snapshots, and that'll be it. Well, upon arrival, we walked inside, and the wires had gotten crossed, and our road crew thought they had been instructed to set up the entire stage of guitars, drums, amplifiers, microphones, the works. And we kind of shrugged our shoulders, and I said, well, listen, while the camera crew began assembling their equipment, getting the room ready, I said, we ought to just pick up the gear and have a go at it and fall into the beat. And I guess the best news of this story is the engineers had also set up and were prepared to get the tape machines rolling, unbeknownst to us. And I guess it was about 6 months ago, the engineers called and they said, by the way, what do you want us to do with these tapes? And I said, what tapes are you speaking of? They said, oh, yeah, that's right. You guys didn't know it. When the Green Hall session was unfolding, we were able to record your guys' jam session. And there you have it. We listened to the tapes and said, gosh, this is about as this is about as realistic as an early ZZ Top session as you could ask for. So there you have it. It was quite a surprise. It was unplanned, but there you get the real deal.
I got to tell you, I loved it because it's so stripped down, and obviously the visual of it in the film, when people have seen it, the three of you guys in that circle, in that room, looking at each other and just playing, seeing it, it sounds so good. But obviously in the movie, they're not going to be able to cover everything that you did that day. So having this document of 12 songs, all ZZ Top classics, done in that style, I mean, I just love the way it sounds. It is so raw, it is so stripped down, and it's the essence of the band, just guitar, bass, drums, vocal, and there it is. And I really loved that take on some of the stuff when, you know, synths and stuff started getting into your music with Legs and the Eliminator period, which we all know was massively successful. But hearing stuff like Legs and Give Me All Your Lovin' stripped down like that, played like that, I thought was so cool.
Yeah, man. We had a girlfriend review the song titles, and she said, "Gee whiz," she said, "I see a lot of this stuff goes way back even to your first records when you were recording in the '70s." She said, "But when I played it," she said, "I really got the feeling I was listening to when ZZ Top first started." I said, "Well, that's about the way it is." It was three guys playing our famous three chords, standing within arm's reach of each other. It was a grand return to the early days, man.
And the opening track on the record is Brown Sugar. When people first look at that, they would think, oh, they're opening with the Stones cover. But no, that's actually a ZZ Top song from the very first record, which actually, correct me if I'm wrong, it predates the Stones song. Is that correct?
Yes. We've, through the years, our friendship with the Rolling Stones continues on to this day. And every so often we'll make a reflection on this unexpected collision, having two very different songs with the same title, but they do theirs, we do ours, and we both still seem to enjoy going back to those early moments. It's kind of cool.
Billy, was your entire performance, the audio, of course, is on this album Raw, which is available on CD, vinyl, streaming, any way you want to get it. But did Sam and the crew who did the documentary, did they roll on all of these songs? Is there also video of everything that's on the record?
Oh, yeah. Everything was, in fact, once we started, we didn't realize that the camera guys had actually been set up, and they were still fussing about the room. And I guess the good news is that there was no red light fever, not realizing that we were being recorded both visually and through the audio. We just started slamming through the numbers, having a big old time. And I guess after about 2 hours, we finally shrugged our shoulders. We looked over and said, "Hey, Sam," I said, "when are you going to take that snapshot?" He goes, "Hey, man, we're just enjoying hearing you guys play. Keep it going." So it's all there, man.
Do you think there'd be any plans to release a video companion to the record at some point, if they could edit up that footage?
We've talked about it. In fact, the talents of that film crew are such that we really admire the way they went about doing their thing, and that discussion is continuing to unfold. It wouldn't surprise me to see it come out as a companion, just to actually stand there in the room as the cameras were doing. You'll get it front row seats.
Yeah, that would be really cool if something like that were able to come together. Because, you know, it's so cool to see a band. any band perform and play like that and to have it recorded and captured. More and more, I have bands on this show that will tell me that they've made a new record and they were never, ever in the same room or in the same country together, or people who have done spots on records, they never even met the person, which I understand with technology that's doable today. But I'm not a musician, but to me, I would think that there's there is some great benefit and vibe that you get from being in the room across from the people you're making music with.
Oh, yes, indeed. You're right on it. The magic of just having eye contact, and many times it's that mystery element that makes lightning strike. And I got to say, as relaxed and nonchalant as we seem to have been during that moment, we hit a pretty good licks. The versions, of course, stray away from the original recordings as far as the arrangements. We were kind of taking it to the Bahamas and back. So you get some familiarity mixed in with something new. What was old is now new again.
Yeah, no doubt. I wanted to ask you too, as I watched the documentary, and for people who haven't seen the doc, it's been out for a couple years, I guess now, and I can't recommend it more highly. And I know Sam and his crew there, and they do great work. They've done a bunch of metal stuff, and they did that your ZZ Top doc, great stuff that they've done. But when I look at it, I look at the origins of the band and the early years that are covered in that documentary. Here we are, more than 50 years into your career. Did you ever envision when you started out carving out a career like this where you would still be in 2022 out there touring and talking about this music you've made?
Because, to be quite honest, the answer would be unlikely. I think in the beginning, like so many of our constituents, we wanted to flirt with the girls and get free beer. That was about the extent of our thinking.
Well, you can still. I know you're a happily married man, but you can still flirt with the girls, and I'm sure you get plenty of free beer if you want it. These days, that's probably way easier now than it was 50 years ago, right, Billy?
Oh, yeah, indeed. Oh man, yeah, but. You go to a ZZ Top show, and here we are 5 decades into this craziness, and we're still all about, bringing the party out from night to night. It's really all about. It's still about having a good time, and that really hasn't changed. I think back when we first heard. Some of the recordings flying out over the radio, it was quite surprising, and yet it really hasn't changed the way we approach things. It's about having that good time,
No doubt. Hey, a couple more quick things, then I'll let you run. I wanted to ask you, how has it been for ZZ Top, who for 50 years had, and was one of the few bands that had the same original 3 guys, and then tragically we lost Dusty just over a year ago, actually, and Elwood came in and has been taking that spot there on bass. How has that whole transition been for you? There were a lot of people that were surprised at how quickly you were able to transition to Elwood. Can you talk about that whole period of losing Dusty, getting Elwood in? You had told me, I had texted you condolences the day it happened, and you said that this is exactly what Dusty had wanted. Can you talk a little bit about that, Billy?
Oh, yeah. It's been a cool transition. In fact, Elwood being, I guess you could consider a guy that's been with us for over 3 decades, pretty much family. He knew the songs, he knew the arrangements, he knew the moves, the work. And Dusty said, listen, he said, if I'm late coming back, you might hand the guitar to Elwood. He's our guy. And I guess the real irony here is during this period, everybody staying at home. We never knew Elwood to be other than the guy that showed up when we first laid eyes on the fella. He was hired as the guitar technician. Avocado sandwich in one hand, skateboard in the other, clean-shaven guy with a mohawk hairdo. We never knew he had Whisker One, and yet when we got back together to rehearse and get ready to go out on tour, I said, "Who's the new guy?" And they said, "Which one?" I said, "That guy over in the corner with the beard longer than mine." They said, "That's Elwood." I said, No. I said, "That guy with the beard." He said, "Believe it or not, that's your man Elwood." So not only is he a great player with his raucous antics, the way he attacks the guitar, he slipped right in. I think Dusty showed us a sliver of his wisdom that went far beyond what we ever anticipated when he said, "Hand the guitar to Elwood." So here we are. Elwood stepped up and accepted the position, and it's straight ahead. It's kind of great knowing that in spirit, Dusty is kind of leading the charge here.
But what you're telling me then is that Elwood, who had always been a clean-shaven guy in his life, when this happened, he very rapidly, without even you guys asking, grew a beard?
That is correct. In fact, he was gonna go in and return to his well-groomed appearance. It was our Billy Bob Thornton showed up. We were out in California rehearsing this show, and he said, "Hey," he said, "by the way, I heard that Elwood grew a beard. Don't let him shave until I get a snapshot." And we caught Elwood just in time. We said, "Don't shave. Our buddy Billy Bob wants to get a snapshot." So the next thing you know, it's now Elwood stepped in with he's part of the team in more ways than one.
That is amazing. And, speaking of beards, and I know there's a lot made of that with ZZ Top, but I was thinking about this the other day when I saw you a few weeks ago in Texas, and I was talking to some friends about it while you were playing. You without a doubt are one of the most recognizable people in music, without a doubt. I mean, I imagine it'd be unbelievably difficult for you to even go get a carton of milk or go to the mall because you are Billy Gibbons. The beard, the whole look. Have you ever been tempted, or has there ever been times where you have shaved the beard? Because if you did, it would be the complete opposite. Nobody would know who the hell you are. So you could have total anonymity if you shaved that. Did you ever entertain that, or did you ever do that? And during some downtime, I'm going to take this thing off and then I can be anybody and never get stopped?
Yeah, it crossed our mind more than once. I remember at one point, Dusty and I were tiptoeing through. We had a day off. We were tiptoeing through a shopping mall somewhere, and Frank was a few steps ahead of us. And Dusty said, "Damn," he said, "we can't seem to go 10 feet without somebody asking for an autograph or a photograph." He said, "And look at Mr. Beard, the man with no beard. He falls in line and never gets harassed." So yes, to answer your question, it's crossed our minds a few times, but I think what started off as a disguise has now become kind of a trademark. I think we're stuck with it.
Well, it's without a doubt a trademark, and it would probably take you some time to grow it back. But man, if I was you and I had like a year off, I'd take that thing off and I would just enjoy being totally anonymous, because nobody, I know you and I probably wouldn't even recognize you without it. So you have that, like during COVID, when everybody was running around with masks, I said to myself, and I said on the air, like for super famous people, actors, musicians, what have you, the mandatory mask thing when it was in place was probably the best thing that ever happened to them, because they probably got to do things they could never do before without being bothered. Throw a baseball hat on, you got the mask, everyone's wearing it. But for you, even with the mask, that beard's coming out the bottom. That's going to be Billy Gibbons.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, we we hoped we were going to get a respite from the rigors of the road, and it didn't take us a couple of trips out. I said, "Yay, dig! This math thing ain't working." So we just we threw them away and kept on working.
Hey, real quick, tell me about Tres Hombres whiskey. Is that something new?
It is. There's an outfit, a distillery down in Texas, and we were approached by a couple of the scientists that were hiding back in the back room, and they had dreamed up a couple of distillation processes that they thought had made a flavor and an offering from their standpoint. They said, "Gee whiz, this is a little bit of a different taste, but we think it says the word Texas." And they said, "What if we got ZZ Top to sprinkle holy water on it?" And we gave it a sample, and sure enough, it was quite appealing. So you can go to your favorite place of spirits and grab a bottle of ZZ Top's Tres Hombres whiskey. It's pretty tasty. In fact, there's actually a new flavor will be hitting the shelf soon, and as soon as we get the word, I'll give you a shout, and we can share it with the folks.
Yeah, I'd love to taste some too. Maybe next time I see you somewhere, you got some backstage or whatever, I'd love to try it. And lastly, I'm looking through your tour dates, and we talked about the dates you have coming up, which again, the shows resume tomorrow. Actually, there's a date. Tomorrow is in Greensboro, North Carolina. Just go to zztop.com, find your date. But I noticed that in December, early December, you've got a residency run in what now is my second home, where is of Las Vegas. I understand you live there as well, so that's going to be nice to play the Venetian. You're going to get to go home to your own bed there, right?
Oh yeah, we're just a few minutes walking from the stage. It makes it quite convenient, and at the same time, we actually get to feel human.
Well, you know, I have not only do I have a home there now, but I have a little studio there in the home where I do live shows. This show live from there when I'm there, and I've had everybody over because so many rock guys are living in Vegas now. Geezer Butler was over, Steve Stevens was over. All these guys have come over and done the show. So when we get towards around that time, I'm gonna hit you up, because it would be great if while you're there, maybe before the residency starts, you could have you come sit in, do a whole show. It's probably 10 minutes from you.
Yeah, well, when you and I, if you remember, when you and I collided for that unusual show together down in Texas, I brought back the word, and Elwood and Frank Beard, our man with no beard, they said, "Gee whiz, ask Mr. Trunk if that studio would allow the three of us creatures to creep in, and we could probably light the fuse and give you a few more live and kind of unplanned versions of some ZZ Top material. We should do this."
Well, that would be, I mean, if we're talking about doing something like that, then we can actually get a proper studio and do it. But if the three of you just want to come and sit and talk, we can easily do that at my studio there. It's not really equipped for a live performance, but to sit and talk, we can do that easily. If you're talking about wanting to play, we could definitely look to setting that up and making a big special out of it. So I'm going to put that on the radar of my people here at Sirius XM. And now that we got a little time, because you don't hit there till early December, we should see if we could put all that together. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're so close to the house. You could come over. We got a nice studio on property. There's all kinds of possibilities. Of course, we're going to have to keep Elwood and Frank away from the dice table. That's another challenge. But I think if we would put the carrot at the end of the stick and tell them that we've got a chance to work with you, no problem.
That sounds like a plan. We'll start putting our heads together on that, because December will be here before you know it. But it'd be great to make something cool like that happen, and then that'll let you guys roll right into that residency right now. 5 nights at the Venetian in Vegas starting on December 3rd. Again, all the dates are on zztop.com. Billy, always great to talk to you. It was great to see you a few weeks ago, and I hope to catch one of these shows even before Vegas. And you need anything, you know where to get me, bud. Thank you so much for the time.
You got it, man. And in the meantime, grab some tacos wherever you can, and we'll keep it fast and furious on the stage, and we'll keep things tuned up, and look forward to catching you. Thanks, man.
For sure, yep. And I'll keep an eye on your dates. If I'm in Vegas and you're not on the road, I'll hit you up.
You got it, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Billy. Take care. Billy Gibbons, everybody, from ZZ Top. Again, the new album Raw is out there right now. Very, very cool versions of ZZ Top classics done totally raw, stripped down one day live in an old honky tonk that was built in the late 1800s in Texas. It's an amazing way to hear and see ZZ Top. If you've seen the film, it would be great if they actually are able to edit up a concert DVD stream or whatever from that performance, because it was so cool to see. It was one of my favorite parts of seeing the film, and to have the audio soundtrack available now is great. But if they were to go in and make a video companion, that would be very cool also. Well, wow, Billy threw something out there that could be extremely cool. Not only does he want to come sit in, but actually do like a whole thing with the band and have them play live. So I have some friends with some venues in Vegas that would gladly host that. I had a little ZZ Top underplay. My gears are rolling. Private Trunk Nation, ZZ Top Vegas extravaganza, invite only. Then they go do their Venetian thing. A lot of my gears are turning. Some phone calls and emails are going to be flying very, very soon to try to put that together.